we are part of UNR and big supporters of the Nevada Career Studio. So glad to see students and employers again here taking advantage of this opportunity with each other, in particular here in the Nevada Career Studio, where all of the good stuff happens of getting students placed into all of your great organizations. So with that, thanks for being here. Should be running about 40 minutes or so, and then we'll get into the speed networking at 2 o'clock. I think that's right. And Tom, over to you. Thank you.
Right on. Thanks, Wayne. So let's just recognize, the work that's been gone into this to set this up. So anybody with the Nevada Career Studio, can they raise their hand? Anybody that's here? What a great staff. Let's give the staff a round of applause. East West University here, a lot of students that work here, and their goal is to help students really have access to careers that matter. And that's what we're here for, right? Like careers that make a difference, that matter, and they can do that for you. So any students, do not make this the first time or last time you come in here. Come visit this place regularly, frequently, get to know the people here, and then they can get you access to employers like we have here. And then can the Manufacturing Nevada staff also raise their hand that are here? Okay, let's give them a round of applause. Let's give Wayne a round of applause. So Wayne is he's the face of Manufacturing Nevada up here on campus. He's done a really nice job coordinating with Nevada Career Studio to put this event together. And that's really what our goal is to just get manufacturers, students, and the university and the community connected, so that we can really grow and thrive. And this is a really neat industry, and we're excited to have this panel today. So we'll go ahead and go down our panelists here and let them introduce themselves and tell us where they're from. And we made this specifically a panelist of manufacturing professionals that work in manufacturing every day, that have had an experience there, that kind of know what current trends are. And so this isn't necessarily an event for them to pitch their jobs to you or anything like that. This is an event for them to just share the insight of what manufacturing really looks like and kind of what it would take to get into that and what some of the exciting opportunities are. So let's go ahead and start right here with Matt with Dragonfly.
Hey, my name is Matt Richard. I'm an R&D scientist with Dragonfly Energy. We're a local lithium-ion battery company. My background is in chemical engineering, and at Dragonfly, I specifically focus on the scale up and implementation of our manufacturing process to make our batteries here in Nevada.
Great, welcome, Matt. Georgia.
Hi, my name is Georgia Vanderbilt. I'm with Shorty's Candle Company, and we've been here locally for almost 21 years. And what do? I started Shorty's, but after all of this time, I'm really in the R&D development, in the research and development department. That's really where my heart of everything is. And yeah, our fingers still continue to go out, but.
All right, thanks, Georgia. Michael.
Good afternoon, I'm Michael DeBlassi. I work for Tesla. I'm a senior instructor there, and one of the programs I run is a START manufacturing program. I've been with Tesla for 3 years, but I've been in manufacturing since I was in high school. I took manufacturing classes when I was in high school, and a lot of that learning that I got helped me be successful my whole career. And so right now I'm developing more learning programs, how to get people into technology. And that's my background is education and manufacturing.
Thank you, Michael. Matt.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt Wade. I am a manufacturing engineer with Kennametal over in Fallon. My background is primarily in metallurgical and chemical engineering. And right now, what I do is overseeing the chemical reaction in our process that turns tungsten into tungsten carbide.
Cool. Thanks, Matt. Good stuff. Well, thanks for the introductions, team. So what we'll do is we've got a few questions that we'll go through, and we'll just kind of take turns, at taking the first crack at it. And then if anybody else wants to add on to that question or jump in, just feel free to after that first person goes. So let's start with Michael on this one. And the question is, why did you get into manufacturing?
So when I was young, I was always putting things together. I had Legos and train sets and racing cars. So I was always curious in how things worked. I was drawn towards technical education. And I was always curious how the world works. if you start learning about manufacturing, like everything you look at had to be made somewhere. Right? You ever wonder, how did it get made? Right? Or how do you make millions of them or billions of them? Right. So I was always curious about how the world worked. And I was lucky enough to go to a trade school in high school where I actually learned manufacturing technology. At that time, it was mostly machine shop and a lot of manual work. It's, been around for a while, but they were just turning into automation, turning into CNC machines, computer machines, which was tape driven in my day. But again, we were programming the machine to do the work. And just to see that growth between manual building and what computers can do when they were interfaced with machines was just fascinating to me. So I was at that cusp when PCs were coming out and automation was coming out, and we're going from manual relays to PLCs, and that's when manufacturing really took off. So I was in a good spot for that. I've worked in aerospace, manufacturing, some consumer products, and now Tesla, which is basically energy and automotive. So I have a lot of experience with different manufacturing. And every day I get fascinated. We even talking with some of my colleagues today. There's things we're doing at Tesla. I'm like, are we doing that really right now? So, and we're in a great place here in Northern Nevada. Manufacturing is really growing. So it's a great field to be in for now in the future.
Right. There's something about being able to go on a factory floor and see the product that you're making, right? That is really kind of exhilarating, invigorating.
It's something you don't, well, there's more exposure now, but especially how the Gigafactory works. If you've never been out there, able to get out there and take a look, you'll be pretty amazed what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to share how they kind of got into manufacturing and how they got into this career?
So I decided at a pretty young age that I was going to be an engineer. It's just what avenue am I going to go down in that region? While in school for chemical engineering, it was a lot of theoretical knowledge, but I'd say that it wasn't until probably late junior or even senior year where I kind of got a grasp of what does a chemical engineer really do. For those of you who are chemical engineers or have some knowledge into that avenue, there's not a lot of practice that you can have with it in a school setting. When the piece of equipment is 3 stories tall and $12 million, it's not something that you're going to have in your intro to chemical engineering class. But just kind of understanding and putting the pieces together of, well, we learned how to do this, and at scale, we can actually make this many, talking about how do we make millions of something? How do we make billions of something? The move to that scale and the specifics of proof of concept, lab scale, pilot scale, industrial scale, and how you move fluidly through all of those without blowing up half your factory are really, really important. And it's something that is just really fascinating to me. And I enjoy what I do every day because I get to be a part of that.
Cool.
I didn't really know that I was going to get into manufacturing. It was sort of an accident. I did not realize even what manufacturing was. And we manufactured candles. And we started with a little pot on a stove and then grew it into this huge factory down off Craig Street. So, you don't always know exactly what you're going to get into, and things change. And but putting something together is pretty cool.
My origin story is pretty similar to Michael's, and as a kid, I'd always take things apart, put them back together just to see how things worked. But after a while, I kind of diverged from Michael a little bit. Whereas rather than just looking at the way things work mechanically, I started delving into the more molecular level of things, similar to the other Matt. I'm a chemical engineer. And I think of that old saying, like any science that's sufficiently far advanced appears to be magic. And when you look at chemical engineering, it's a lot like alchemy, right? Back in the day, they just thought you could turn lead into gold. It's not that dissimilar, really, what a lot of my job is. I turn tungsten into something else, something that's more useful. And manufacturing is just the avenue from which that happens.
Cool. Now we know if your name's Matt or Madison, chemical engineering is the principal career. Well done. All right, great. I think we saw, like, it's all different, right? All four of them. And you will find that with most people's career paths. Right? The different ways that they find it and things. But what's cool about manufacturing is really broad. And you can find your niche there. So engineering is one route into there. There's a bunch of other routes into there. But so well done, team. So let's stay with Matt Kennemetal for this next question. What are the benefits going into manufacturing, maybe versus other disciplines? Like why manufacturing should be something that students might want to look into?
I think one of the major draws that kind of can pull people in is the technical aspect of it. And for several of us, technical skills was a big part of why we got into it. And just being able to look at a process and understand every little minutia of how it works is, to some people, I think, fulfilling. Then you also can't ignore the fact that in manufacturing and industry, you have a lower barrier of entry than you would in such as a research field where you're going to need a master's or PhD. And then it's also more stable than something more creative.
Cool.
I would
Go ahead, Matt.
I would add on to that with the idea of, knowing not just the minutia, but the idea of the process as a whole. I'm sure that Michael would agree, he's been at Tesla for 3 years and he can contribute. Tesla's been around longer than 3 years. He doesn't need to know every aspect of what they're doing over there, but he's been around the processes that exist in manufacturing for long enough to know, well, this piece can work really well if we put it right here. And, we're going to shift this piece just a little bit like this. You don't need to know every specific detail about what's happening as long as the bigger scope is visible as building blocks, essentially. And you can rearrange them and reconfigure them to suit your specific needs in that process.
I found out that George and I had something in common. We both teach a bit at TMCC, and one of the things we were talking about is her class. After they take her class, they've made a candle. They brought something home. They manufactured something in the class, and there's something very satisfying about making something physical as part of your work. People look for job satisfaction. I proudly own a Tesla. Like I believe in the products we make, and I think that's really a gift. A lot of times you make things and it's like, oh, it's whatever. But, I enjoy it. I know the people that have made it. I know the people that have designed it. And we're all proud of that. We have some of the shirts we have with the numbers on it. We celebrate our goals. And it's just really a cool thing when you're making something that's out there that people are using and really enjoying, something that's tangible. So that's kind of why I like manufacturing. It's you can see the fruits of your labor. Right? And you can see that other people get some sort of joy out of it. So that's what keeps me coming to work every day. Part of it.
I would second that. Like, it's a lot of fun to be able to see all those teeny tiny little components, depending on how your brain works, but I get to get this, and then there's tiny little steps and all of those get this, and bring it all together, make something, and then create a smile. Someone gets it.
Yeah, very cool. So sticking with that theme, Georgia, of creating and making, it really kind of speaks to the core of us as humans in many ways, right? Like we want to make stuff. We want to make communities. We want to make relationships. We want to make products and tools and things to just kind of make life better. And manufacturing really kind of scratches that itch for a lot of people. So just give us an idea of what it's like to work in manufacturing on a day-to-day basis. What's it like coming into Shorty's Candles and making candles and many other products that you make? Kind of just walk us through what that feeling's like.
What is that feeling? Well, I asked one of the guys before I left that question, and he said, tell everyone it's really hard on your feet. He said, you have to walk around a lot. So you're on your feet a lot. And it's a good feeling. It's one of those feelings like, hey, I can make this happen. I know that whatever challenge I'm faced with, that I can make this happen. And I can work with this person, work with this person, work with this team, and we can bring stuff together and create something incredible. And you are going to have problems that pop up during the day, and those little challenges, they're kind of fun sometimes. It's kind of neat to be like, oh, you know what? I just spent 6 months developing that product and it didn't work. That sucks. Let's start again. So, it's a challenge.
Well, anybody else? What's it like actually on a factory floor, Michael?
I'll tell you a little bit. So, we do 12-hour shifts at Tesla. We run around the clock, and it's tough, but there's a lot of young people there, and there's an incredible vibe there and energy. There's music on the floor. People are very creative and unique, and they just rally to the challenge. It's hard work, but there's this teamwork. That something's coming out the door that's good. So when we won't go into recruiting to us, we try to get people in there. We're trying to sell that. At this environment where we're trying to make numbers. Let's face it, manufacturing is making numbers. It's very stressful, and with the leader that we have, he always wants more numbers every month. Right, things need to get better, but that's a challenge. Right, we're constantly being challenged, and talking to some of the students who come to us, they're saying that's what they want. They want a challenge. They've spent this time learning all this stuff at work. Put me somewhere where I'm going to be challenged. Right, so Tesla's a good place for that, and I think a lot of places are all challenging. We're all trying to solve problems of the world. We all have inclusions, sustainability, the environment, all that stuff has become part of what manufacturing is now. So you've got that community aspect, that kind of human aspect to what we're doing. So there's a real united aspect with people. We've got like 70,000 people at the factory, kind of working as one. People get very close on their shifts. You spend 12 hours a day with somebody, you're either going to like them or not like them. There's really no middle ground. But I see people, they go skiing together. They just hang out together, and they support each other through the tough times. So it's a challenging environment to work in, but it's rewarding. It's for Tesla. It's not easy. It wasn't too long ago when manufacturing had a bit of a stigma, right? And if you go into manufacturing, that's because maybe you can't do something else. But I think that's turning around because the automation, all the things you got to think about to make a product that's sustainable and effective, now kind of challenges all your learning, not just your technical learning. So it's I think it's coming back into fashion again, that going to what we used to call a trade route is now cool again, which I always knew it was cool. But you talk about the creating, I mean, how many 3D printers were in teenagers' living rooms 10 years ago? Not too many. How many are there now? Everyone's got a right? Every person has the ability to become a manufacturer in their own house for what, $600, $700, right? Cost of an Xbox or cost of a PlayStation, right? So we are in this point of where everyone's a creator, and they have that feeling of what it's like to manufacture something. Really exciting time to be in this. My perspective. Cool. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of those thoughts. It's a very interesting dynamic between hands-on applications. You need to be on the floor, you have to be around the equipment to maintenance it, to see it, watch it work, be on the line with the people that are working with it. And there is that design aspect of building the plant in the first place and knowing how the pieces have to go together conceptually and physically. That really turns it into a dynamic work environment that can be applicable to all kinds of people with different preferences and outlooks.
Anything else to add there, man?
I don't really have anything that hasn't already been said, but again, every day is probably going to be different. And, you know, I think that's a really great thing because, you know, it's kind of boring doing the same thing every day, day in, day out. It's stagnant. So all the challenges that arrive from manufacturing, whether, you know, this product isn't meeting spec, that machine broke down, how do we reach this new product or whatever it might happen to be, there's always something different going on.
Well, good. So let's talk a little bit about money. Talk a little about money here. So, manufacturing, there's a lot of different jobs in manufacturing. So you can get in there from the business school, you can get in there from doing finance, HR, you can get in there from engineering, you can get in there from sciences. Like, that's what's cool about manufacturing is it's a business that has all these different aspects, right? And it's tough to just nail a specific kind of dollar amount, but I mean, let's just say this, and we'll start with you, Matt. Like, can you make money in manufacturing? Is this something where you're going to have to sacrifice and not really be able to make what you want, or are there salaries there that can fulfill people's needs and help drive them forward?
Yeah, so easy answer, the opportunities to live a very happy lifestyle in the manufacturing industry exist. That's not something that you necessarily have to worry about. You know, the pathway and the avenue that you take to get into the field, which area of the field, what are you specifically doing in there? Is it an old company, a new company? All of these things are really gonna affect the actual take-home dollar amount. But in general, I don't see it as an industry where you have to make lifestyle sacrifices in order to take part in it.
We've seen a lot of wage growth in the industry in manufacturing for sure. This is not a minimum wage job by any means. Anybody else want to chime in on kind of salaries, making money in the industry? What, you know, give people a taste of maybe what that looks like?
On my side, I can tell you that it's really cool when your employees buy a house. And as a group, I mean, like, I actually physically own the company. And so from an owner standpoint, it almost makes you want to break down in tears every time someone cuts. We had a new girl yesterday, not a new girl, but she came in yesterday and she was so excited because she got a new apartment all by herself. Doesn't have to have roommates. She hasn't been able to do that before, and she did that with us. And that really cool is really super cool. And I think that you can do a lot without making, like you said, a lot of sacrifices. So is there money in the industry? Yes, there is.
I think for being young, if you have someone who's taken a retail job or a regular job, your salary in manufacturing is going to be a multiple of that. It's not going to be a little bit more, it's going to be double. So, you know, again, if you're trying to save up or you have dreams, it gets you a good start. That doesn't mean you have to stay with it forever. There's great opportunities right out of high school to make some money, and then you work a little bit, you learn, maybe go back to school, but there's definitely good money. And if you're willing to work overtime, sometimes there's overtime opportunities. Young people are very energetic. You can save up pretty well in manufacturing.
You can also move up the chain too. So, you know, you might enter something at an entry level position, but then you've got the lead, and then you've got the manager, and then, you know what I mean? Like, there are different steps, and you can move unilaterally, you can move up, you can make changes. So just make sure to communicate. That's the biggest thing. If you're looking for something, communicate that. And then, and you know what? Also, another thing too is come to whomever it is, because you can become like your own company inside of the bigger company, as opposed to just having your own company. You can become somebody that steps forward and says, I have this idea, let's make this happen. You can drive your own ideas in another company that already has momentum. And then if that's your project, then you step up with that project. So.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I'll let go on that. In Tesla, we encourage ideas. We actually have a big database. We want people to say what they see, and we act on those things. So there is opportunity, and there's always a space above to go to if you work hard enough. There's always room to move up.
And then there's, you know, untold variables in what'll impact your entry level salary. And so there's really not much point in trying to get into the specifics of that. But one thing that is pretty common across manufacturing is that first, it's a competitive field. You're competing with the other companies and they want to draw you in. So they're going to try to pay you well to do that. But then second, most of it is going to require more skill than, you know, an entry level job that you might get in high school or wherever. And those skills will build on each other. And that's really what's going to give you your paycheck.
That's cool. That's really well put around that. Manufacturing is not declining in the United States. It is only growing and it is going to grow exponentially. And so the competition for people who have manufacturing background, skills, education, it's going to continue to grow. And so that's pretty neat to think of that as well. You get into that field. It's a growing field. A lot of people talk about healthcare and things like fields that are going to grow. As manufacturing is not going to decline. High watermark for manufacturing jobs in the United States was 1978, believe it or not. And then we kind of let all the manufacturing jobs go. Well, they're all coming back, building, growing. There's no end to it. So that's really great insight. Kind of sticking with that, Matt, talk to us a little bit about like what an advancement career path would be in your organization, for example, if you start somewhere. And I mean, how is it that you get to move up, and what are your opportunities for growth and more responsibility and to learn new things?
Sure. Well, like Georgia said a moment ago, a lot of time you might come in at the bottom, but then as you gain those skills, no matter what position you're in, that's going to make you, more responsible and more capable across the board. As those skills build, you can move up to lead, to manager, and to those higher level positions. So as long as you try to better yourself and better your own skill set, there will always be an opportunity to go up.
Michael, you want to talk about that, about what advancement looks like?
Yeah, I would agree with that. So at Tesla, your entry level are either production associate, which means you work in the line, or material handler, which means you're moving stuff around. And we have a lot of stuff to move around. Right? So you go into one of those paths. The program that we're developing now, the START program, is to take a production associate to a maintenance technician. That'd be the next line, because once you understand how the line runs, it's a very good progression to now start to fix it. Right? Once you understand how it runs and you know how to fix it, then we want you to design it. Right? So then you move into an engineering role. So that's probably the career path you'd have at Tesla. And of course, that's not linear. There's so many other things you can do depending on what area you want to work in, and we're always developing new things. So that's kind of the career path we have right now. And some of that is, some of that is self-responsibility for what you study. Some of it is what Tesla provides for you, and some of it is what other colleges and universities can do. So take advantage of all those opportunities. You'll move up quicker.
Anything else there to add, Matt, Georgia? Yeah.
Yeah, I started at Dragonfly as an intern. I transitioned into staff, and now I lead not just my team within the department, but kind of the scale up and implementation of our process. So I would say that those avenues for advancement come to people who are hungry for it, the people who are asking questions, to the people who are interested in finding out what's next, not just doing the job they've been asked. And that doesn't mean, you have to grind it out at, all the overtime, and, you have to pay your dues and do twice the job. It's just being willing to start connecting one dot to the next, so that you can say, well, I think it would be best if we, like the building blocks I talked about earlier. Well, if we reorganize it this way a little bit, things are gonna run smoother. And that just comes with experience and time working with your coworkers on the line, or fellow engineers or scientists, whatever it is. It's something that comes and develops, but the people that are willing to make those connections and start taking those next steps themselves are the people that I would say advance the fastest through that ladder.
I add a little bit onto that. We kind of talked about the linear path technically, but if you want to be in leadership or management, then you want other skills, right? You need to be a good writer, which we're losing track of that. So to be able to write reports, write communications. You need to be able to work in a group in where there's shared leadership. Maybe there isn't one person that's the de facto leader, but you're all taking some sort of leadership. And then you have to be able to work with people around the world, right? People you might never meet. So for Tesla, you may be working with someone in Berlin or someone in Texas, right, on a project for a bit. And so you have to be able to create that relationship, get something done really quickly, and then move again. So the technical skills are important, but your teamwork, project management, writing, communication skills, presentation, how to run a meeting, how to present a new idea. Because a lot of times at Tesla, you have to sell your idea for them to accept it. So you have to have those kind of skills. That'll also help you move up quicker. This is
The interpersonal side of it's really important, right? I mean, at the end of the day, manufacturing is a people business. I know it's factories and machines, but it's really people that are making this stuff happen. It's teams that are doing it. And that's one of the most rewarding parts of it, right? Is working together with teams, having these interpersonal communications, opportunities to work with each other, to, you know, manage each other, help each other out for a common end goal. Super rewarding when it comes to that interpersonal side, right?
Yeah, when from the management side, as you're standing there, you're going, okay, you know, I have all of these things to do. And I have this person that's here, this person is here, this person is here, that I have to fill this position. But if nobody shows me any interest in filling this or ever says, oh, hey, can I learn how to do that? There isn't any of that. You were saying stepping up and just saying, hey, I'm here. Then I kind of feel like you're happy where you are. And if nothing's broken, then I'm going to bring somebody new in to cover this, as opposed to moving you into that position. So speaking up is a huge, massive part of it. Here, show me how to do it. I'm interested.
Put yourself out there, raise your hand.
And you might not always get that. We had a gal come to us and we were looking for a warehouse manager and she applied for the position. She was already working for us. And we ended up not feeling like she was the right person for that position, but then we moved her up to this other position and boom, she was the perfect person for that position, which raised her level up to here. You know, she wasn't a manager, but she still got her own, whatever it was, because of the fact that she spoke up. And she let us know she was interested, she was capable, and cared about it.
I feel like in manufacturing, you find like management wants to put people in positions to succeed in order for the overall system to function to its most efficiency, right? And so it's built in a little bit, right? Like we want people to succeed in management position, right, man?
Yes, the most expensive thing I can do is onboard a new person. It's going to take up a ton of my time to train them. It's going to take up a ton of resources to make sure that, you know, they're operating properly, interacting and interfacing with the rest of the team really well. So yeah, if I can take a member of the team and set them up for success to grow, that's a way better situation for me, for my company, and for the rest of the team, because we're fostering that better culture. And I don't have to spend time interviewing for a new position, onboarding someone, training them on how to use the equipment properly. It behooves the employer as well as the team to all be on that same page and want to build that culture.
Yeah. You know, the fictionalized culture of evil management put you in a bad spot so you fail, so that it doesn't exist in manufacturing. It can't, because the plant won't be successful. So it's in that mind, they really want the people to succeed when they get elevated positions. They're going to empower you to do so. Training, resources, tools, ability to raise your hand and say, I need some help here, which is super rewarding on that side too. Know that they got your back. Management wants what's best for you in that position. They don't want you to fail. It's going to cause a lot more heartache later on. So, okay, really well said. Let's move to this kind of last phase of the question, and then after this question, we'll kind of open up to the field here, if there's any specific questions. But let's put ourselves in the shoes of a university student, whether they're just started their degree and declared their major, or whether they're graduating in May and they're getting ready to go on. What should they know? What should they be doing right now in order to really set themselves up for a successful start into manufacturing? And let's start with you on that, Georgia, and then we'll go through the panel here.
Oh, what should they know? I was hoping you'd give me.
Oh,
that's
we
all right.
we can come back if you want.
What should they know? They should know, like my guy said, it's gonna be a lot of work on his feet. They should know that they're needed, that they have something really important to share and something that maybe the company doesn't even know needed yet. So when you step up, when you step in, share who you are and share your ideas and share your thoughts. And if you notice something, like maybe you are a little bit more organized than somebody else is, then you know what? Help organize. Help bring things together. Nothing is set in stone. I mean, we might have these companies that are already working. They've been there for 20 years and everything's going good, but that doesn't mean that you can't come in. That doesn't mean when you come in and bring an idea that you're disrupting it. Maybe you're improving it. So bring your ideas, share your ideas, and enjoy the benefits when you do.
Michael, and then we'll go Matt and then come back to Matt.
Yeah, I mean, at Tesla, we do want to know who you are. We want to make sure you're a good fit and last. Coming in, so I know your experience. A great way to set up is the internships, which we've talked about a lot today. If you can get an internship, with any company to get a little taste of what it's like to be out there. It's a little different than school. That's always a really good heads up if you can get any kind of an internship, whatever it is. Do your networking. It's very easy to connect right now. I bet you every student has some connection with somebody who's been in industry. Now you have us as connections. Like reach out to someone who's been there for a while and say, what is it like? Think about it. So try to prep yourself for that. And if you have resources for interviewing, I mean, we all see this. Very, very bright, very well-traveled people, and just the interview process throws them off a little bit, right? Because how many times do you interview during your life? Maybe a dozen or so. Right? It's not something you practice all the time. It comes up. So practicing how you're going to present yourself when you get one chance is really important. So prepare for that interview. Talk to people. Research the company. I mean, Tesla's a little bit easy to research. We're like everywhere. You really have to be in a cave not to know what we do, but we do a lot of different things that people don't know about. When you talk to an employer, if you really know about the company, it makes a difference, right? Plus, it's also good for you because then you've had to think about whether it's a right fit or not. It's not just a job with a salary. It's a company that does this and believes in this and is moving forward in this way, because you don't want to switch jobs around a lot, right? You want to find a good job, you want to stay there. In my mind, the sweet spot's like 3 years. You need to stay somewhere 3 years for you to really learn the place and become effective. And for our investment to turn out on you, we need you to stay there for a while. Right. So you want to think about that before you come in. And then the rest of it is really up to you, what you want to do.
From an engineering standpoint, I think a lot of what we get in college is really emphasized on the technical skills. Like I can go into a job and I know how to do a mass balance and Taylor series expansions and this and that. And to a degree, that's kind of just expected. I think the one thing that you really need to pay attention to is don't neglect the soft skills, knowing how to integrate into the company and get along with people. Like if I get hired into a company and I don't like Michael, so I don't ever talk to him. Nothing's ever going to get done. We're not going to have that exchange of ideas, and it's just not going to work very well. So if you're able to develop those soft skills and get along with people, then it's going to make everything run more smoothly and you'll be happier.
A lot of really great things. I think the only thing that I would add on, other than just echoing everything that was said here, is the idea of don't be afraid to kind of lean into your own weaknesses. So, most engineers, they're it's expected that you know how to do the math. And it's expected that you don't know how to talk very well or how to write very well. Lean into some of the opportunities for growth to kind of turn yourself into a more well-rounded individual. The people who can interface not just with their team, but be liaisons to this department and this department, because I don't need to know everything that they do, but I know generally what's happening over there. So I can go talk to them and I can summarize very quickly, 1 or 2 sentences, what I'm doing. And we can build that relationship, that culture within our team, within our department, within our company. But it requires you kind of leaning into the spaces that make you uncomfortable because you're not as good at them. And the more willing you are to kind of lean into that, to be vulnerable and build up those connections with other people in working in other parts of your company, the more well-rounded you'll make yourself and the better culture you're going to build with all of your coworkers. You spend a lot of time with them, you're going to want to like them.
Group projects, man. Don't we hate group projects? Man, we hate group projects. But what do you hear? I mean, that's the reason why we do group projects at university, right? The reason why is to build those skills of working together with people. And I know it's a hassle. You're like, I'll just do all the work then. These people aren't going to do their part. But that's not effective because you can't do that on a factory floor. You can't just be the one, oh, I'll just do it. I'll forget about it. That's poor leadership, is to not be able to delegate, to not be able to pull people in, to not be able to get people to empower to do their portion so that you collectively can be greater. So important stuff. So pay attention to that. I know that group projects are a hassle, believe me, but they're there for a reason. So try to look at it from that perspective. Not necessarily technical side of what you're doing, but the interpersonal side of it. So great job, really, really great job. What kind of questions do we have? Let's open it up to the group here. Is there any burning questions that you'd like to ask our panel members here? We'll also have some other opportunities. Nicholas, go ahead.
So I have a tough question. So Tommy mentioned earlier that the importance of the relationship between people who are currently in management and the people who are working on the factory floor. So I want to ask the panelists like a 2-part question. Like, are you guys unionized, and what do you guys think of the impact of unions, like unionization, on the relationship between management and the factory floor workers, like positive and negative?
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
We're not union.
Not short of that.
Part of your answer.
On union.
So let's see. So one of the things at Tesla is you need to be kind of a Swiss Army knife. And you may come in with a certain discipline, but you've got to learn different things. You have to be able to pivot. So in a union shop, like, I do maintenance in a union shop, electricians do the electrical work, the mechanic, you do theirs, everyone stays in their lane, and that's what you do. But at more companies, and I think this would be common, you have to be able to cross over and do different things. You have to be more flexible and be able to learn really quickly. So that's one of the main differences between a union shop and a non-union shop. The benefits, what do unions do? They're the voice for you. They make sure you have opportunities. We can do some of those similar things without having a union. There's pluses and minuses. There were times when unions were strong and maybe needed. That's a big philosophical question. But right now we're non-union and trying to stick that way.
Like the Swiss Army knife reference. That was actually, yeah, we are very, better be Swiss Army knife if you're gonna come any. But yeah, we're not. Tell you stories. Friends, but.
Dragonfly is also non-union. I would say that, like most all things, there is no one good answer. There are benefits on one side and the other. So I would say that the biggest reason for the unions is you have a culture that doesn't facilitate the discussions and the growth and interpersonal relationships that, we've all kind of tried to really highlight as this is kind of important. And that breakdown essentially is kind of what leads to arguments, which requires, all right, now we're going to go to war about one thing or another. So there's no one good universal answer. Not that anyone's found yet. So
I mean, a union was designed to protect the employees, but in today's environment, if you're getting in with a good company, they're gonna be doing most of that by themselves.
Can I ask a question? What's your interest in unions? A specific interest in
Oh, no, I
that
just
concept
think-
or, yeah?
because, I mean, this, the history of unions is pretty interesting.
It is
and,
very-
Yeah, like Tom mentioned, the the relationship between management and, the factory floor workers and on manufacturing, there can't be a bad relationship, basically, because you lose efficiency, you lose the factory because it's a competitive market. That's just, that was just mine.
Yeah. That's a really great question. Go ahead. What's your name?
My name is Kevin Nova. I'm production superintendent for Clausen Quality Chocolate. I think I can touch a little bit on your question there. So I've worked both union and non-union. My previous career was union. And like they said, you're limited in what you can do because there's different unions for different parts of the job. So with my current job now, for the company I work for, I was entry level. I came in as an operator, dumping 50-pound bags of milk powder, cocoa powder, 12-hour shifts. But with me wanting to learn and putting in the hard work, I'm able to go into different areas like maintenance, management, and all that stuff. And like these guys said, is the companies right now, if you have a good culture, there's no need for someone else from the outside to come in and force it. And you're not as limited in what you can do and what you want to do.
Culture is a big deal in manufacturing, it's a big topic now, and partly because it's such a competitive labor market. Right? And so you've got to make sure your culture's solid because you want to keep the people you hire. And so now that could ebb and flow, right? As the labor market changes, certainly. But I don't think you'll find a factory floor to be a very teamwork oriented environment. As a matter of fact, the best manufacturing principles are when you set up a management system where the employees are the ones that are telling management what they need. They're lean principles there that are set up that way. And you empower the employee to find the inefficiencies. You empower the employee to say, you know what, if we move this table over there 10 feet, we can do this better. And the management's job is only to say, oh, okay, sweet, I'll move that table for you. That's easy. And so that's what's empowering about a manufacturing environment. It's not this top-down, do what I say things. We're trying to create cultures that it's really this bottom-up ideas are coming from the team that are working there in the station, running that equipment all day long, know best how to fix it. And so that's really cool when you see that work the way that it should. So, great question, Nicholas, and thanks for the insight there. Okay, anybody else got any burning questions they want to ask as we wrap up here? Go ahead. Yeah, what's your name?
Jordan.
Jordan, go ahead.
So I'm a mechanical engineering major and I currently work in the career studio, but what would you say are like good ways to stand out when applying for like internships?
the people that stand out to me the most are the people who know things about my company. Like researching the company is the simplest, easiest, and #1 way to walk in and impress me right off the bat. If you're an engineer on the technical side, look up the patents that the company's filed. They're all publicly listed. Read about them. Ask your technical interviewer some questions about it. Ask questions of them about, what does the work life look like? And, I know the company does this, and throw in information that shows you have done your homework and you want to be here. You're interested in this company. You're showing that you're invested before you've even walked in the door. That's the #1 thing that I look for.
I don't work so much on the hiring side. Great advice.
I just want to add to that. So, engineering, we look at skills, right? I worry about the soft side, right? Because I want someone that can mold in my team correctly? That's what we always look for. It's like, how do we build our team? Teach you all the skills that you need to be a successful engineer. I have a really hard time teaching you how to be. Right, and that's not a trait that you learn very easily. So we look for those skills, right? And then methodology, because like we talk about software, you don't know the software that we use. Not a big deal. So all software systems is the same, right? But we want to know the methodology of how you think when you program. That's where we want to hear from you guys. It's like, what is your train of thought? What are you thinking about when you're programming? Are you thinking about the end user? Because that's primarily who should be end user. How is this going to be used for you? That's what you want to look at. Skills are important, don't get me wrong, skills are super important, but we also look at offsite.
And let me add something else. This is, to turn it around, you need to know more about yourself before you come in. I mean, I've done a lot of interviews and you get these fancy resumes, you read them, and you start asking questions and all of a sudden people will start talking about experiences that they had that are really important that aren't on there. Like a lot of times you forget all the great stuff you've done in your career, especially in your school career. So kind of go back and look at yourself, find out if you journal and look at what have I done the last 4 or 5 years. And you'll probably be surprised that there's a lot of things that you have done or influenced that aren't on your list. That are actually important things that we want to hear about you personally. Like a lot of times people don't put community service and stuff because they're thinking engineering wise. They want to, how many calculus classes you took or how many things you did with that 3D printer. But we want to know that you helped the robotics team or something like that. That's important for us to know how you would fit into the group. So make sure you do research about yourself first when you come in and bring the best of you, because I would say that way more than half the people I interview, there's way more about them than what they present to me. So, yeah.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't really think about that, but I'm always looking for dedication to you. So if you're like, oh, if you might not have this huge extensive resume, but you do in what you've done in the past. So how long have you been part of this one sports team? Or how long have you been dedicated, to like these other little things? So put those down because those things are important. Those things stand out and bring that into it, even if it doesn't apply to engineering. It still applies to the dedication that you could bring to the team.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Good question.
Question, Jordan. Thank you. Okay, we've got time for maybe one more question, if there's anything. We're going to have a lot more opportunities. Actually, we probably should take a break because in 5 minutes, we're going to start our first speed networking round. This is going to be fun. We're going to have manufacturers lined up. And you're going to have some time to one-on-one to ask some of these questions. So get your questions ready, what you want to ask them about manufacturing, what it looks like, okay? So thank you, panel. Great job. Let's give them a round of applause. Nice job. We appreciate your insight and we appreciate who you are and what you do. You're making a difference out there in the manufacturing world. And it matters. You guys that. So thank you. And thanks for everybody that participated. So let's take a quick break and then we'll start our networking.
No, that's okay.
3:16.
Very good.
For sure.